My hat! All right, so let's say you're going to start racing. You can always show up to a wherever you're racing, right? You show up to the hobby shop, they have the track, and they generally have the house transponders. Now, the house transponders are going to be a little red block. They're generally red. They are usually about 2 centimeters by 2 centimeters, maybe larger. They might be, actually, now that I think about it, they might be 2.5 centimeters by 2.5. Well, think about it this way, inch by inch square. But they can be quite heavy. If you're running a class that has a weight limit, then it may not be an issue. Your car can just be a little lighter, and then that will make up for the weight. I think the one that I borrowed was probably close to 40 grams. Keep in mind that the battery is inside. They have a pretty large battery in them, and then there's the parts that goes through the body, so you have to ream a hole in the body, sticks through, and then you stick a body clip, and that holds it in, that holds the transponder. They work, and it's a lender. You don't have to pay any extra money, or you can buy your own transponder. So this is a transponder by MyLaps. Now, sometimes the question is what transponder to buy. The best thing to do is ask, wherever you're planning on racing, just ask what transponders people are running there. But this one here, this is an RC4 Hybrid transponder, so this will work with the 2-wire systems. Some systems have 3-wire, but if you have something that works only on 3-wire and you show up to a place that uses a 2-wire system, you're going to be out of luck. It's not going to work, or you will have to borrow the house transponder. Now, the mass of something like this is not much. These are, I believe, under 8 grams. And the reason why this is an advantage buying something like this, MyLaps, is if you're running, for example, a 4-tech stock class, or let's just say you're running a techno, whatever, short course, these are already way over the weight requirement. These are closer to 3 kilos, fully assembled battery, everything. I think the minimum weight is close to 2.5 kilos, 2,500 grams. So you're just adding more weight if you use the house transponder, plus generally goes up in the body somewhere. Versus this, if you look at the Techno, you can mount it. It has little screws right here where you can mount the transponder. You send the wire in through here. This simply plugs into your ESC. That's where it gets power from. But let's go ahead and open this. So open this MyLaps transponder, and there's the information. Let's see. There we go. So it's the MyLaps Personal RC4 Hybrid. This one here, this is a direct power transponder, so it gets power straight from your ESC. Comes with the instructions manual here, and you can just put this in just use a screw, for example here. Notice this, I can get the wire. Oh, sorry, wrong way. These screws on a Techno will match. Just have to remove these. This goes there, and then I just run the wire in their ESC. Now on the 4-tech, you're going to have to find a spot. You can use double stick tape or just mount it somewhere where there's a screw. It doesn't really matter. Just find a place to mount it. But the nice thing about these is you don't have to borrow one from the house, especially because some of those are really old and they'll die. And sometimes, not often, you will be running a house transponder, which is nice that they have them, but mid-race, the battery will die. And at first, there's no way of knowing if it's good or bad until it dies. Sometimes they won't work right away, sometimes they will, but I've seen it happen where halfway into it, luckily, it's usually during practice where you find out if they work or not. You'll grab, 3 blue. You generally have blue and red. Now, they're all red, but there's a sticker on them. You'll grab, 3. And then you'll run it, and then halfway it dies. Well, the rest of your laps aren't going to be counted, so when it comes to qualifying, that may be an issue, because what if your fastest lap was actually a lap after it stopped working? which is why these are a better choice. So again, if you're starting off, just try out racing. Borrow a transponder from your local shop, wherever you're racing. Just borrow a house transponder. But once you enjoy it and you realize you want to do this more often, invest in a MyLaps transponder. And this one here, I mean, I'm doing the unboxing. It's very nice, very compact. The size, if I go ahead and measure, let's just find a 0. This is about 1.6 centimeters, roughly. So it's pretty small by, where's the line? There it is. What is that? 1.8. So it's not going to take up much room. To be honest, if you're doing the GT, a Fortec, this happens to have a GT body, you could probably just double stick it right here. That would be fine. Now, this one here is actually going to go into a different vehicle, but you know, again, you just find a place where there's a screw and you can mount it. Let's just say you wanted this. Just take a screw out. You can grab a few shims, put them in there, maybe washers, and then set this, tighten the screw. That's fine. Before you start drilling holes anywhere, just make sure it's all right to make modifications. But like I said, Fortec, you could probably just double stick, tape this here. Techno, it's going to fit right in. So definitely consider one of these transponders. And the nice thing about hybrid, this one here, the system, it will work with 3 and 2 wire systems. But other than that, this is it. So MyLaps, it's a very nice transponder with the mounting bracket and the instructions manual. Thank you so much for watching. And again, consider getting a MyLaps if you're going to start racing. And definitely don't be afraid to just go out there and try racing. The worst thing that can happen is, well, you don't finish because you break your car. But you probably have already had to fix something in your vehicle, so it shouldn't be such a big deal. It'll only get better from there. Here I have 2 vehicles right here, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the bodies. And the question is, what if you have multiple cars? Let's just say you're running 2 cars in a day, but you only have 1 transponder. What do you do? Well, it's not that difficult. So I already unboxed the transponder. Now, this one here, I had to borrow a house transponder. That's what has the hole. So I'm just going to leave it. But sometimes house transponders can get pretty old and then they'll fail and it won't count all of your laps and then it's an issue. So let's just say you finally decided to buy your own, which you should. Now, sometimes you might forget it because maybe you left it installed in a different vehicle. That happens too. Well, something that you can do is actually quite simple. You can find a place to mount it, for example, near the receiver, on top of the receiver, by the servo, somewhere, and just buy some of this tape. So I'm actually going to go ahead and mount this using this tape right here. This is a command. It's different than the regular Velcro because there is no fluffy side. Both sides are the same. They're just these little plastic tabs, so it can stick onto itself. And this is the type of stuff that you can actually stick on walls, for example, but it doesn't matter which side you use. It sticks onto itself, which is kind of nice. And the transponder, for example, this MyLaps Hybrid transponder, is so light that you don't need much adhesion to keep it in place. Now, it does come with this little mount here, as I showed you, which is great for other vehicles. For example, my Techno has those 3 mounting points. But on something like this, doesn't have it. I could remove a screw and just attach it onto a hole. I mean, that's a possibility. I could do that. But the purpose of this is actually to show you the Velcro, and well, sorry, this command item, which is instead of Velcro. That way you don't end up with more of one side than the other. It's the same type. So first you have to find a mounting point. Now it all depends on how you want to mount this. Now here's the thing. If I want to use this on my Techno, then I want to keep this and attach the Velcro to this mounting bracket. But if you are not going to mount it on a vehicle that way, you actually just lift a little and then you push through. And what holds it in place, see, as those two things, it keys in there. There's two little tabs. You're not going to be able to see them probably inside of the bracket. Oh, there they are. You can see them. That's where it keys in. So you could go ahead and just attach this, but let's just say for the purpose of this video, I don't want to, and I'm going to keep it here. Well, you need to prep everything first, and just a little bit of rubbing alcohol, or a lot. No, I'm kidding. Just use a little. Just clean it up, circular motion. Now, really quick, MyLaps. The reason why I chose this hybrid system is it works with 2 and 3 wire systems. That's the only reason why. And the best thing is to not forget your transponder. And if you can get more than one, have more than one. But let's just say you're starting out or you don't race much, so it doesn't make sense to spend 120, 130. I can't remember how much these things cost. I want to say they're around 130. You don't want to spend that times 2 or times 3 times 4, however many vehicles. Well, this is one way that you can do it. The main thing will be to find a mounting spot and make sure that the wire will fit. So this will go into the battery section here on the ESC. Now, if you have a fan, well, you're going to have to figure that one out. It's alright. It all depends on how many channels you have here. But again, you can mount it in different places. So here, for example, where would I mount it? Actually here. This works great. Even though there's this little ledge, once I place this on here, it'll be high enough to where I will be able to mount this. That's fine. It's not going to count against one of your modifications or a modification on the Tamiya truck. The only thing you have to be careful about here is the body may hit. So if you mount the body, the best place would probably be, if you're going to mount it on top of that brace, to maybe go somewhere here where the engine is, or further forward, or maybe further forward. That would probably be the best place to go. So that should work. Actually, all of these places here should work. So that being said, let me go ahead and just use a little bit of rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to mount a strip there. And I'm just going to wait for it to dry. I don't think it should interfere if I mount it right on top of the servo, and the reason why is, the servo is mounted right on top of the receiver in the Tamiya trucks, but I guess I'll find out. Now, if you have a different type of vehicle, for example, let's just say you're running Ford Tech stock spec class, that is a different story. You're going to have to remove the cover no matter what to run the wire. So that one may be a bit of a pain. You may want to consider just buying another one, have it just permanently mounted, or borrowing the house. It just depends on how much time you have between runs. So that's something else you have to keep in mind. Let's just say you're running 3 classes, Tamiya Man Truck, VTA, and Ford Tech, since I mentioned Ford Tech. Well, the problem that you may have is the following. There may not be more than one main. For example, 17.5, there's generally an A, a B, and a C that are run. But it's Tamiya Man Truck, it might just be one category, which means that if they're running Tamiya first, and for some reason Ford Tech is right after, you're going to be that one guy slowing down everything because instead of one, you're not going to be able to put your truck and then, you know, take it off the track and then run out and marshal because you have to race again. But now you have to open up your man truck, remove the transponder, remove that little cover, which you probably already have removed because you're expecting it, put the transponder on, mount it, put the cover back on, and then run out there with your car. And it may not be a big deal, it may not take too long, but keep in mind that this will delay the entire process. Because generally you only have 4 minutes in between, 5. It depends on how much you're running, or the time, the area. But let's just say 4 minutes. And so the problem is, even if there's a group in between, a class, one class in between, you're going to run this, but now you have to marshal. So again, you're going to be the guy delaying everything. Unless you have a pit mate that can do everything for you, and that's golden, right? And that would work. But anyway, that aside, this one I'm going to cut a little longer just so I have a little more options. So I'm going to install about half of the strip. And these cut really easy. Now this is clean and dry. Go ahead. Just be careful with these when you're removing this backing, because this adhesive portion, I mean, these are the type that you just kind of pull and remove. So sometimes this foam part with the adhesive will want to come off. But again, not a big deal because the transponder is very, very light. It's probably somewhere between 6 and 8 grams at most. So not a big deal. But there we go. So you can mount this on, and as you can see, that just snaps on, and this is on there pretty good. So your truck could tumble and roll, and this will stay on. Again, very, very good option for a transponder that's so light. I would not use this though on ESC. And the reason why, and I found out, and I'm saying this because I tried it on a different vehicle, after a few jumps, the ESCs are a lot heavier. They tend to be 50, 60 grams, depending on the ESC that you're running, somewhere around there with a fan. Wait, is that with a fan or without a fan? Might be without, well, it depends on the ESC. All of them run differently. Some of them I think are 45 grams without the fan, so you add the fan's probably 7, 8 grams. Let's just round it to 10. So you're looking at 55, 60 grams. That gets a little heavy, and it will start wanting to come off. But anyway, moving on. Here, now I just have to install this. So you just drop this in, and that is it. So you're good to go. Then you need to swap it out. It comes off. Now you can install it in the other vehicle. And that one is set. So let's go over here. This one, I've already cleaned the servo, and that's where I'm planning on mounting it. And the reason why is I do not want to mount it near the belt. Again, I could remove one of those screws, but that's not the point of the video. For this one here, I would mount it somewhere over here. And just to get the mounting position that I want, I will go ahead and put the Velcro or this command tape. I don't remember what it's called. I threw the piece of paper, but it's a command brand. Just look for Velcro, wherever they keep the Velcro, and you're going to find the stuff. I think there's actually something similar in the Velcro brand. And that is it. Now I'm mounting it this way because I'm with the flat side, and I'm trying to keep it close to center. Well, that's good enough. And I'm just going to press this on. And that is it. So then I can just drop this in, remove it, I'm good to go. But that is it. So removes, that sticks in here, this sticks in here, and they're easy to replace. I don't remember how many strips of these come in the box, but it's quite a bit. I mean, in here I have 7 of those strips left and a half. So that's something to keep in mind, what you can do with a transponder of this line, so you can just swap them out between vehicles. And if you have multiple, don't worry about it. But again, one of the nice things about using this is I can still mount this on something else, for example, the Techno, as I mentioned. But other than that, thank you for watching.